As you say, I've had cancer 4 times, and not the kind of cancer that spreads out and can compromises your body's functions and systems. Mine is called paranganglioma. It's also known as pheochromocytoma. So imagine a time bomb sitting inside of you, and this tumor is making a Molotov cocktail of chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine. And when your adrenal gland activates for any reason, right, for joy or excitement or exercise or fear and anxiety, it's that's a fuse, and it causes the tumor to blow. So most people die from paranganglioma in under a minute.
Wow.
It causes the blood pressure to skyrocket massively. Your blood vessels burst. You have a heart attack. It just totally overloads your circulatory system. So you don't waste away with this kind of cancer, but you do have smaller explosions until before the big one. And for a long time, I've had the small ones that just give you what feels like a panic attack, cramps in the stomach, sweating, heart palpitations. It feels just lousy. And I passed out many times from this, having what's called a vasovagal reaction. So I've had this 4 times since I was 17. When I was 27, it was my second tumor, and it was on the femoral artery. So when it blew, the metabolites rapidly went into my system and were circulating through me in a matter of less than 2 seconds. I was actually doing a church service, and I was in a hospital chapel, right? I would do that once a month, and I felt the tumor activate. I felt my heart pound. I felt the sweat. And I had tried every time during the smaller explosions to get that under control, to breathe deep, to lean into it, to try and, override the sympathetic nervous system to get control back. But this time it was too big, and I collapsed. Now, I like to joke that I put a lot of people unconscious on Sunday mornings, but it's no good when the minister collapses. And of course, that's pretty scary for the patients and families and everyone in the service. And they're like, what on earth happened? I just went down. Suddenly, I found myself in a different realm. Now, I didn't have a tunnel experience. I didn't see that light and go to it, as is common with NDEs. But I did find myself in another place that was utterly ordinary in how I describe it, but extraordinary in how I experienced it. I was on a grassy hill. I could feel every blade of grass as it moved. I could feel the light pouring into me and through me. The light was emanating from everything. It was astonishingly more real than this reality. I felt incredibly congruent and whole and authentic. There wasn't any aspect of myself that I was suppressing. There was nothing in the subconscious. There was no split between that and the ego. I was whole and complete. I was fully present in the moment and fully held by that presence, which I just can only describe as love. There was a tree at the top of the hill, and I wanted to run to that. I was aching to reach that tree, and I knew if I got to that tree, I would never come back here. So right away, I knew that there was a here and there was a there, or a this and a that. I cannot describe the exuberance, the exhilaration, the joy beyond anything I've experienced. I was like a 10-year-old at Christmas morning, and I was jumping up and down ecstatic, and I just kept saying over and over, I'm home, I'm home, I'm home. And it was cool. That tree, the branches seemed to be drinking in the light. It seemed I could feel how it was rooted into the earth. And there was an adventure to be had, and I was just revving to go for it. But I couldn't. There was someone there. Now, it was a masculine, figure, entity. If you were to ask me what he looked like, I actually couldn't tell you. It didn't seem important at the time to look at him and get a description. He felt like my best friend. He felt like someone I've known all my life and who knew me to the bone, right, to the core. And we had this remarkably casual conversation. I said, "I'm home." And he said, "Yep, it's great to see you, David." Right? And I could feel this warmth from him. And I said, come on, let's run to the tree. Like I was a little boy with my best friend. And he said, you can't go up there. Well, let's just talk. And so we walked. And when I say walked, I felt ground beneath my feet. I felt my form, which was human. I felt very much me, but more me than I've ever felt here. And we talked about my life. I don't remember much of the details of that conversation, but I remember the key points, which were, it's great to see you. You're doing well. Things are going fine, but you have a lot of work to do and you can't stay here. So you have to go back. And I rejected that, as so many people who have an NDE do. I said, no, I'm not going back there. Why would I go back? I'm home. I'm finally here. This is what I've been longing for. And he said, yeah, but you have more to do. You're not ready to be here. And I'm like, I'm brushing that off. Come on, let's go to the tree. And then I felt this seriousness, this intent that was nonetheless filled with compassion and love, kind of an endearing affection you would have for a kid who doesn't want to go to bed. That's what I felt from him. And he just emphasized, you have work to do. We will be with you. And I felt my heart sink, right? As if that's possible there, but it is. And I knew I wasn't going to win the argument. And I said, please don't send me back. You can't send me back. And then he put his hand on my shoulder and he poured this love and understanding into me. And he smiled and he said, it's going to be okay. We'll be with you. We'll see you later. Boom, I'm back. Which is the most miserable part of a near-death experience. It's the return to this flesh and bone, this muck, the pull of gravity. I felt it immediately. The density of flesh, the poverty of my words and thoughts, the way they must run in a linear fashion and are grossly inadequate to express what you're trying to communicate. There, the communication was instant and consciousness to consciousness, and yet it wasn't all at once. It still had a linear feel to it. But here, it is, communication is abysmal. And when you move from this state of consciousness to one so expansive, and then you're compressed back into this one, it kind of messes you up, and it leaves you grieving and homesick for what you saw. The doctor rolled me on my back, right? I was in a hospital, so a doctor and a nurse were right there. Apparently, my heart had stopped, and I was gone for 15 minutes. I heard their voices coming like out of a fog as you adapt to the embodied form once again. And I heard them say, David, are you all right? And I opened my eyes and I apologized, right? So quickly, I'm back in my ego identity. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I scared everyone. I'm sorry I passed out. Because I had passed out many times from the tumor. Never during a church service. And they took my vitals. They wrapped me in a blanket. They didn't see a concussion. The heart was working fine. And they just chalked it up to a young seminary student, a young student minister having an anxiety attack. They wrapped me in a blanket, got my blood sugar, up with a bit of orange juice, and they sent me home, where I crawled into bed and I grieved for a long time. I didn't tell anyone. You'd think I would. You'd think I'd get up in the pulpit the next Sunday and say, I stepped on the porch of heaven, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what to do with this. You immediately begin to wonder, was it real? It feels like a dream, but it doesn't. That's the only correlation you have, right? But it's so real and you can't shake it. I didn't tell anyone for years. It takes many years to integrate these sort of things unless you have good professional support. I feel like that was back in 1988, right? I feel like I am doing the homework, right? I was 27 years old. Now I'm 57, 30 years ago. And the road I've been on ever since has been interesting and bumbling along, but leading to some profoundly beautiful and meaningful work. And I'm grateful now as I look back that they sent me back here to Earth. And I look forward to when I go home one day.